소개도 통화돼야 하는 어떻게 할까요? 저희가 첫 번째는 프랑스에 있는 거의 뭐 지금 굉장히 핫한 NGO 그룹입니다. 지금 오늘 이제 발표하실 분은 닥터 토마스 랜드링인데 우리가 공군어를 생물학을 하셨는데 지금 어느 정도 뜻깊은 바가 있어가지고 NGO를 만들고 만든 그 NGO 이름이 Just One Giant Lab 이라는 겁니다. 전 세계 하나로 이제 연구실을 묶겠다는 그런 의지로 펀딩을 하셔가지고 최근에 코비드-19 관련돼가지고 과학자 약 1000명을 하나의 온라인 플랫폼에 모아가지고 여러 가지 이슈를 발굴해내는 분입니다. 지금 이제 파리가 지금 이제 새벽 6시이기 때문에 조금 졸릴 듯 싶은데 제가 모시도록 하겠습니다. I'd like to call Dr. Landring Thomas from the Just One Giant Lab, and he will give a talk about how the science and technology can respond to fight against the COVID-19. I'd like to call him.
Thank you very much, Kwang-Hu. Hello, everyone. I'm extremely pleased to be able to participate and honored also to be able to speak to all of you and present what we are doing with Just One Giant Lab and the Open COVID-19 initiative. I'm going to share my screen. I have a presentation to show you. I believe you should be able to see it now. So what I'm going to present to you is also a general point, argument about why we should open more the research and the innovation, especially in big challenging times, such as the COVID-19 crisis. My starting point is we live in a very special age of communities, thanks to digital technologies. It's becoming easier and easier for people to come together based on common interests. And so science has been also transformed by this aspect. We have seen more and more scientific communities coming together, and not necessarily communities of professionals only. We see also a lot of students and amateurs that are looking at how they can contribute at solving some of the world's problems, especially the Sustainable Development Goals. And so we have also, for the last 10 years, we've seen the developments of what we call open laboratories, fab labs, makerspaces, and they are becoming more and more numerous around the world. And these spaces are local communities that are really active and trying to develop projects locally for local problems. But when you look at it, most of those open laboratories, they have one limitation is they have a small critical mass. They don't really collaborate with each other, not at least enough. And so the ambition of the project they can do is limited. So there is a goal, there is something to solve here, which is how do we bring more people together for collaborating in order to create projects that are even more impactful, especially when we're talking about pandemics. And it's what's really interesting is those spaces and those communities, they open up who can contribute to science, who can explore subjects. So it's not only a technological revolution in a sense, it's really a sociological revolution. We increase the diversity of contributors. And so in that sense, we also diversify the type of problems we can explore together, because we all have a different agenda. Us as academics or others as entrepreneurs, sometimes citizens have a different vision about what should be solved first. So being able to give them the opportunity to take part also in the solving is really important. And nowadays tools enable this. And we have nowadays a great unifying framework, which are the SDGs. So it's very useful to be able to bring together actors that are looking at the same problems. And so I've been myself very much involved in the development of such open communities. In fact, originally I'm a biology researcher based in Paris, but I've been also very much interested at how we could open biology laboratories. So I've been working on creating for the last 10 years open source biotech laboratories. And this is actually myself 10 years ago. And the goal was really, when I was a PhD student, it was very hard for me to be able to work with non-researchers, to be able to work with designers or those kind of citizens on subjects that were not necessarily the thematic, part of the thematic of the laboratory. So I've created this laboratory where different individuals coming from different backgrounds, such as not only biology, but engineering, but also design and arts, and also other kind of disciplines, such as being able to work around chemistry. And so we've been really able to design interdisciplinary projects together. And this experience has completely changed my vision about how science could be done. I was really convinced that somehow science was being perceived only in a pure academic way. And I was seeing the potential of opening science to larger communities. And so I've dedicated actually the last 10 years in developing and formalizing these kind of open laboratories and open communities. And this is the evolution of the small lab here that you see in a much bigger space in the center of Paris, where it's kind of like a small institute, if you want, but it's fully open to students who wants to do a project. At least in France, universities don't really provide easily lab spaces to students that have an idea. So it's very hard for young talents that wants to come together and want to tinker, to be able to find the right space of freedom. And so we were providing this to them. And so we've seen many projects coming out, even some of them becoming startups and successful startups. But startups was not really the goal. It was one of the goals. We've seen also a lot of design and art exploration, for example, but also a lot of projects that try to describe a system very close to how research is working. So using publications, not necessarily trying to make a business. And so this experience has been great, but in order to be able to enjoy this space, you need to be locally, physically present in Paris. What about all the others that are, distributed outside in France and the rest of the world? How can we connect? How can we make them involved? How can we engage them so that we can hear from them, they can contribute also to ideas, and we can develop even more impactful projects. And so 5 years ago, I tested this idea. Can we invite an online community that is not composed of professionals necessarily? Some of them will be, to work on the complex problem. And here the complex problem is, how do we better understand cancer using big data? So we're talking about two different things, data science and medicine. So, something that you don't usually find in the same brain, right? So you will need collaboration. And this experiment has been really successful. We did that at the time in partnership with Roche, the pharmaceutical company, where we would invite anyone who would like to participate. Everything coming out of this open collaboration will be open source. It means that it will be like on Wikipedia. There will be no IP, intellectual property. The goal is really to create scientific and technological commons. And so we've seen a lot of contributions, more than 3,600 contributions, and we've got 15 projects, and 8 of them were really good, of really good qualities. And most of the participants were professionals, about 2/3. They were working on either new kind of analysis for doing cancer epidemiology, or they were building tools, for example, data visualization tools, or new kind of data sets. And so at the end, it was really, really impactful. A couple of scientific publications were created out of this also. But the question was, what's next? So we proved the fact that it was possible to mobilize hundreds of people, that were not active professional cancer researchers to work on cancer, and they produce very interesting results. What about extending this? What about scaling this kind of approach? We could have not only a few hundred, but a few dozen of thousands of people being able to collaborate together to have even more impact. And so it brings me to a point where I think we have a missed potential. When you look at the number of contributors to science, we are talking about 8 to 10 millions. By active contributors, I mean people who have their name as an author on the academic publication. So it's about a person in 1,000 in the world, but we also have more than 1 billion people that got access to higher education. So how can we bring, how can we recover this gap? Because all these people could definitely help in when it comes to be able to research and analyze or innovate facing specific kind of problems. And so to be able to do that, you need to somehow change a bit the system. You need to reimagine what kind of institutions can be able to work with communities. Because currently it's very hard for institutions to be able to do that. And so we've been working on this idea. When you look at it, this is the age distribution for researchers in the US to receive an NIH grant. I find it very interesting because, as you can see, in the 80s, the average age was about 40, 45 years old, and it moves with the baby boomers. And so, but what's the most interesting part here is the area here before 35 years old. As you can see, in the 80s, the likelihood that you would get a grant before the age of 30 was actually not new, but nowadays it's almost zero. So what it means is current institutions somehow fail at providing opportunities to the younger generation, especially at a time where you have a burst of creativity, because you're sometimes a bit naive about things too. And as a reminder, sometimes I like to say that two of the most famous scientists, Einstein or Darwin, they made their main discoveries before the age of 30. So the point is, how can we provide more opportunities for learning and collaborating, getting experience for also the younger generation? We've seen digital platforms, to connect people together in the research, but they're all for academics only. So for me, they fail at trying to diversify the pool of contributors. And also, they are mostly for-profit companies with a business model based on personal data. So at the end, we came together with some friends and we say that it was time to create a new kind of platform, a non-profit platform that will work kind of like a research institute, but in a distributed manner. So we don't have a physical space. We are distributed on the internet, where anyone can be a member of it, anyone can be a contributor. And we called it Just One Giant Lab, because the goal is that if we can all come together in a giant laboratory, we can probably do a lot together. And so the point that we're trying to address here is an accessibility issue. Is that on one hand, you have leaders such as researchers or entrepreneurs or civil servants or even activists that are trying to work on specific problems that they have identified and they're experts of these problems, but they may actually lacking resources. They may lack ways to find skills, collaborators, but also equipments or data, for example. On the other hand, you have a lot of individuals such as students and looking for experiences, or professionals that would that have a lot of expertise but would like to contribute but don't know how because they are not part of the same ecosystem. And you have also patients even who like to be able to be involved in the research around their sickness, etc. So we have those two poles, but they don't really interact. And so we have to find a way to connect. And that's what we're doing with Just One Giant Lab in order to give birth to more projects. And so we create those open teams between the leaders and contributors, and we have also partners that help us make this happen. And so at the end, we have a platform which is really composed what we call an infinite sea of projects and talents. And so nowadays we have almost 5,000 people on Jogo, and after 1 year of existence, and we also create specific programs and challenges in order to focus the energy of the community in specific areas. And that's what we've done with COVID-19. And so, yeah, we just celebrated 1 year of Jogo last week. It was a big celebration. And so this is 1 year of Jogo. So what you see is all the registration in the last year, in the last 12 months. And it's mostly people coming from Europe and North America and India. Not that much yet, for example, from Asia. And especially, I don't think we have a Korean member yet. So the goal is to really bring people together with common motivations, provide them with resources so that they can have collective achievements. And so Open COVID-19 is really about that. It's a program that we launched on the 1st of March, where the goal was to bring people together to design and create solutions to better prevent, detect, or also treat COVID-19. And so we structured everything around different kind of challenges for prevention, diagnostics, treatments, data, and also validations. We got more than 120 COVID-19 related projects. And so actually, I would like to show you some examples of such projects. So I'm going to shift page, and I will bring you to internet. I think it's, yes, here. So you should be able to see my screen now again. And so this is Jogo. This is the platform. You can actually go there yourself on app.jogo.io. And the first project I'd like to share is it's a biotech project. So we have a lot of diversity. We have biotech projects, we have digital technology projects, and we also have engineering projects. And the peculiarity of Jogo is that we have a lot of biotech. And so open source biotechnology, which is very original. So this one is a very interesting project. As you can see, it has a lot of different members and contributors. And the goal of this project is to use the LAMP technology to make a test that is very simple and very inexpensive. And in fact, they've got really good results in the last 2 weeks. They've been working on this project for the last 3 months now. I could actually go and show you some of the results they have. But my point was to show you that this project, for example, has been successful and now is in clinical trials. And we have a partnership with APHP, which is the largest hospital cluster in Europe. And so they are currently testing this protocol in the hospitals. And so if it really works for them, it will be the first open source diagnosis test for COVID-19. And this will be very important because it will be a common. It means that it could be used by anyone without IP. Especially it will be interesting for not only, I mean, for all countries, but especially for developing countries. The way it works is also you can share specific needs in a project. So here we use these features to be able to make projects find other collaborators. So here they ask actually to find more collaborators to help them with this project, and so they can interact with people from the platform, and it makes it easy for them to develop their community of contributors. Another project also in biotech, which is very different here, is to use cell-free systems. And so they've been also working a lot on this aspect, and they've got very interesting results. I will invite you to actually go and check the description of the projects to learn. You can even actually comment there. What I'd like to talk about here is another diagnostics projects that is in development. Is all those diagnostics projects, they've been in development for almost 4 months now. And there are a collaboration between very unusual partners. You have people coming from public authorities such as the CDC in the US. You have people coming from the biotech entrepreneurship world, so the startups, and you also have academics, and you also have amateurs, such as people working in community laboratories or open labs, as I've shown you before. So it's a very unusual collaboration, but that makes the project very successful also. We have projects working on hardware, such as bioreactors, open source bioreactors, to facilitate the production of enzymes that can be useful for doing the diagnosis test. And now let me show you also some projects that are not using biotech, but are using digital technologies. And especially this one, for example, it's an application that uses AI to listen to the sound of your cough to be able to see if you have COVID-19 or not. So it's a training model, if you want. And again, everything is documented. So it's at the contrary of normal research projects where you have to wait either the publication or the pre-publication in an archive to be able to read about the project. You can actually go and read about the project right from the beginning, and so you even actually can participate and contribute. So it's a big difference about how science is normally made. And again, you can check who is already contributing or not. You can look at the current needs so they need recordings, for example. Another project is Quantified Flu. It's a project that uses connected objects, wearables, to record personal data and see if out of those personal data, you are able to extract signatures in the data sets that can indicate if the person has COVID-19 or not. And so they've been doing this with a lot of people and they have already some interesting results. And so it's a way to also involve the patients in the studies. And other kind of projects are more on the social science or digital technologies to improve the life of people during the lockdown, for example. Here is the Project Lockdown, and they work on trying to, you have here the small description, so they really work on how the confinement is affecting human rights, for example. in general. So they map different, different aspects of how the confinement is affecting our life. Another project is AccuraLab, which is all about fact-checking. We've seen that a wave of fake news in this crisis. And so here is a team working mostly actually from a lot of different countries, from the US and 2 different countries in Africa, the Europe also. And so it's a very international collaboration. They already have a prototype that is working. You can read also about it there. We also have people involved a lot in education. And so, so here is, we have one project where members of the community are invited to provide free webinars for students. If you're an expert, you can actually provide a course to class anywhere in the world. And here is the same. We're supporting another project. It's called STEM Education for Africa. It's based in Nigeria, and where they especially helping students that are under lockdown. And finally, two projects that also got approved is the basic respirator by Hunter Futo, who has got authorized also in the US and Canada. And also we've been working with a PHP on the low-cost syringe pump for hospital users. So my point was to show you some examples about what has been going on. I'm just going to go back very fast to my PowerPoint presentation and finish my talk. Okay.
Summing up in 3 minutes.
Yeah. So at the end, what has been interesting is this is a giant digital communities. We're talking about thousands of people with different kind of skills, and so the goal is really about how do we map them and how do we connect them. And so it has been a planetary reach so far. And what's interesting is the way we've been supporting projects is also by funding them or providing them access to authorities. To give you an example, so we've created what we call micro grants. Most projects, as you've seen, they are new projects, and they need resources to be able to do a proof of concept. And for them, it would have been very hard to go through normal application processes. Because they are not, an official project done by an official laboratory or organization. So we've created, thanks to our partner, a way for them to access funding. So the macro grants is very easy. Any project can participate, they can apply, they have to make the application open, and it's the community that review the applications. And they have a grading system where they grade the impact or the feasibility of the project, and we ask to have at least 4 reviewers for projects. And at the end, the projects are ranked, and so we make a cutoff, and all the projects that are above the cutoff are automatically funded. And it's been very, very successful at also engaging and supporting the projects. And this is some information about the community growth, as you can see from 1 year of activity with just one giant lab. When COVID-19 has been really a big boost, and it's been a perfect use case to prove the importance of having an open framework. We also have a Slack where we have a lot of active users, but I'm just going to skip this. And at the end, to make this work, it's really about community organization. And so being able to visualize what's going on, who is involved in what, and how people are connected is really key in order to animate and coordinate the global community, especially when you have a very high number of people. And what has been also very peculiar is we have a lot of volunteers that got involved in the coordination. More than 60 people actually got involved with us and in helping us animate the community. And so you can actually go on the platform and look at the kind of skills people have and how you can reach out to them. Obviously, it would have been very difficult to make all this happen without our partners. So it's really a big thanks to them. this is a Joggle team today. It's been quite a growing team. Now we are about 15. And it's a very interdisciplinary team. Half is about digital technologies development. Half is about the development of the community and organizing the programs. And I would like to thank you for your attention.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. You actually wake up early in the morning. Thank you. Under this early in the morning, but it was nice talk. You might have a little, actually time is a little passed over, so I'd like to have like couple of questions from audience. If you raise your hand, we'll bring up the mic. Yes.
Yeah, great presentation. Thank you very much for providing this. And I'm an engineer, so my question is in terms of engineering perspective. Yeah. And if I have interesting topic to do research, and my question is, who is gonna select the participants? And if I get the result, it's great. Sometimes it might have a great benefit. How can I distribute the benefit to the participants? Do you have any framework for that?
That's right. Thank you for your question. The way you select participants is very natural, as you would normally do normally. It's like you have people, either you actually go and reach out to individuals that you want to contact because you find them interesting, thanks to their profile, or you have people reaching out to you or directly to the project, and you can select the people that have applied to be part of your project. So it's very natural. There is nothing very much special here. In terms of sharing the benefits of the project, everything that is happening on Joggle is within a very simplified framework for legal framework. Everything is open source. So there is no question. If someone wants to create a patent out of something, they should probably not come to Joggle, as it will become prior art. It will be like documenting, a secret project on Wikipedia. It will be not compatible. So it's really made for initiatives that from the get-go, from the start, are really open in their mindsets, and so that they understand to be able to get help from other collaborators, they will have to share the results and the benefits of the project.
Okay, I'd like to have just one more question. If there's any, because you promised me to come back on December to Korea, right?
I would love to. Yes.
Just one more question, if there is.
Sorry.
So, no, I mean, since there's no question, because I'm just pressed a little hard, but everything is slowed down, Korea and everywhere, especially in Paris. But actually, this COVID actually helped your vision and your organization, really. So there's someone benefits, someone is losing. But I'm really happy you have here, and then we'll continue collaboration, Korea and Joggle, furthermore. But for now, we'll stop here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So next speaker, we have from Sant Dharma, President Dr. Priyathma, and 우리 이거 소개를 좀 우리 같이 연구하시는 유홍구 교수님께서 잠깐 소개를 해주시겠습니다.
Hi, Professor Priyathma. Could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. I'm very glad to have you.
My voice clear?
Oh, yeah, very clear. It's good. Yeah, I'm very happy to have you at the webinar today. And let me introduce you briefly before you start your talk. Professor Priyatma has served many administrative positions at the Sanata Dharma before he became director. And he is serving his second term as director at Sanata Dharma University. And could you tell us the collaborative work between Sanata Dharma and Solang University? And also, could you tell us how the educational environment has been changed since the corona pandemic, and how you handle the problems? Please.
Okay. Prof. Lee, my dear friends from Korea, very good afternoon to all of you, and maybe it is also very good morning to our colleague coming from Europe and USA, maybe. First, on behalf of Sanata Dharma University, Indonesia, I feel honored and privileged to be one of the invited speakers in this very important and relevant webinar. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude and appreciation to the Academic Society for Appropriate Technology for not only involving me and Sanata Dharma in this webinar, but most importantly, your decision and commitment in connecting sustainable development goals with science and technology. I also especially thank Prof. Wan Woo Sin, the president of Academic Society for Appropriate Technology, who officially invited me in this prestigious forum. I wish this webinar could facilitate a productive conversation among technology researchers, policymakers, NGO, as well as strengthen their international collaborative activities. Ladies and gentlemen, before I start my presentation, allow me to share my screen. And I hope you already got my screen.
Yes, it's very nice.
Yeah, okay. As requested by Prof. Zin, my presentation will be more on sharing about lessons learned from a collaborative project between Sanata Dharma University and Sogang University, rather than a scholarly analysis. The main goal of this collaboration is twofold. First is to establish an excellent chemistry education department of Sanata Dharma University, and second is to develop science teacher center. The establishment of chemistry department has been prepared for long before this collaboration, but it could not be easily implemented due to high early investment. The chemistry department will complete the existing math and science education that previously only had mathematics, physics, biology education. To appropriately align my sharing to your main theme on this webinar, namely on how to best define the role and position of science and technology to achieve SDGs, I would like to use this logical reasoning. First, the United Nations Sustainable Development Summit in September 2015 positioned science, technology, and innovation, or STI, as key means for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal, or SDGs, and launched the UN Technology Facilitation Mechanism, or TFM. And secondly, in the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, member states have also committed to adopt science, technology, and innovation strategies as integral element of our national sustainable development strategies. Therefore, the relationship between science, technology, and innovation with SDGs is also evidently clear, for they have been supporting to economic growth by increasing productivity, reducing costs, and increasing efficiency. STI also have addressed and alleviated societal challenges while finding effective ways to tackle environmental problems. In other words, it fits into the three components of sustainability: economics, environment, and social. However, the role of STI in economic and social progress not only requires appropriate infrastructure, resources, and capabilities to produce new invention, but also the capacity of individuals, communities, and companies to apply and solve them. Therefore, to significantly adopt this strategy, for me, any nation should have enough human resources capable of developing science and adapting technology. In developing countries like Indonesia, the journey to produce high-quality scientists and engineers need a good science education. It is because to be a good engineer, our young generation should love doing science. And a loving science generation could only be harvested from a good science education. That's the way I try to align my sharing with this webinar theme. I'm sorry, I have to drink. It is especially true when we are aware to the challenge faced by developing countries in achieving SDGs. There are a large number of both existing and emerging technologies that present not only many opportunities, but also many challenges for developing countries to meet the SDGs. They are the result of rapid advances in science and technology. They include technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotics, big data analysis, and so on. They also include nanotechnology, new material, and biotechnology. Moreover, there is increasing convergence in these technologies. This is speeding up the rate of technological change as well as the way research and innovation are done. Rapid advances will continue and open up even more livelihood and welfare opportunities for people in developing countries. However, the rapid advances in these emerging technologies also raise many challenges such as lack of needed infrastructure, decreasing export competitiveness, reduced raw material and agricultural product demand, loss of job from competition from advanced countries, and increased income inequality. With this kind of background and context, it is now very clear how strategic is the collaboration of Sogang and Sanata Dharma University to support the development of science education and the establishment of Science Teacher Center. To better understand the context, let me, in a short time, to introduce about Sanata Dharma and how we try to put this project within our struggle to develop Indonesia. Sanata Dharma was established in 1955 as a teacher training institute and is well recognized to produce excellent teachers for Indonesian school. This is reflected by the fact that teachers graduated from Sanata Dharma always score the highest result in their national competent test, teacher competent test. Although Sanata Dharma was converted and expanded to a university in 1993 by establishing many more non-education departments, its concern and commitment to education is still the top priority. For instance, among 35 departments, 10 of them are education department, and among master degree program, 3 of them are in education. Right now, we have around 12,000 students, but 45% out of them are from Faculty of Education. Up to now, we have around 40,000 teachers graduated from Sanata Dharma, and they have been serving 1,000 schools all over Indonesia that is currently serving 264 million people. And among these million people, a third of which are children. And Indonesia is comprising 1,300 ethnic groups across 70,000 islands. And for your information, 2 most important tenets of Indonesian society are its diversity in many areas of life, such as religion, culture, and language, as well as its abundant natural resources. Prof. Bunkuli could be a witness because he went around Indonesia, even he visited many cities than I can do it. So it can be a good witness about the diverse society of Indonesia. From this context, the collaborative project of Sogang and Sanata Dharma that is funded by Korean Ministry of Education is very relevant and appropriate to improve the quality of Indonesian education and is a good example of strategic international collaboration. As all of us may already aware, international cooperation and collaboration is one of the most effective means to support SDGs in developing countries. Now, to give you the idea in a short while about this project, here I inform you some basic description of the ongoing project. First, this project has only 2 goals, actually. The first one is to establish new undergraduate chemistry education department of Sanata Dharma University. And secondly, to develop Science Teacher Center that is located in Sanata Dharma University. The project duration is from 2016 to 2020, but recently we got good news from Prof. Lee that the project could be extended 2 more years. The funding, as I mentioned before, it was from South Korean Ministry of Education through National Research Foundation. Historically, this project was approved and succeeded after second trial. The project leader is Prof. Bunkuli. The picture is a president of Sogang University and me when attended the inauguration creation of new chemistry laboratory. We have many activities in running this project, but those activities is mainly to achieve its goal, that is to establish a high quality new chemistry education department. And the goal is to establish a good, reputable science teacher centers. And to support these two goals, we have been doing many activities. Among those activities, of course, the most difficult one to manage, maybe it is unimaginable, is to get permission from the government. We did many strategy, but praise to the Lord, finally we got approval from the government. After we got approval from the government, then we prepare a curriculum, we prepare all the needed stuff, and also we design a new chemistry laboratory. We are sending many faculty members to Korea to take further study or taking PhD in related subject. We have also some activities involving students and also professor. For instance, we have a regular joint teaching with professor from Sogang, and we run also some gathering to promote this new study program or new department. And we also start inviting science teachers to participate in our program run by this new center, that is the Teachers or Science Teachers Center. For us in Sanata Dharma and for our network, the project is really a good news because it seems Indonesian society responded or recognized it very well. That can be shown based on the third batch, the first third batch we have in our new student. On the first batch, there was already 40 new students. As a new department, it was really a good response from Indonesian society. There's a slightly decrease in new students on the second batch, but again on the third batch, we got higher intake of new students. And recently, because the way we manage this new department is very excellent, then our government also recently accredited or gave accredited status, and in Indonesia, it was given by Indonesian Accreditation Board. By having this status, now our graduate will be formally recognized as formal and legal teachers. We also have just finished developing new laboratory, and there are many partners who are going to have collaboration with us, because through this new laboratory, we can provide highly sophisticated devices and tools to support either for learning activities and also some research and service activities. And interestingly, because the way we accompany, the way we teach our students is so excellent, our new student has achieved some national recognition because they won many national scientific competition. And right now, to support this new department, we are having 4 faculty members finishing their PhD in Sogang University. And for your information, we have involved around 150 mathematics and science teachers to participate in our teacher training or new teacher Training Center program. Yeah. Besides this performance, we got also some informal recognition. First, the first recognition came from our Ministry of Education, because many times the high rank official there promote our collaboration. Even one day he was invited to present his idea on building collaboration, and he assigned me to represent him as a way to support our collaboration and to give to provide witness how to build a good collaboration with Sogang University in this case. And also mathematics and science teachers appreciated a lot the content and the approaches used in our training activities. And even I got information also from Prof. Lee that Korean Ministry of Education recognized this project as the best one in 2018, and therefore we got another 2 years extension of this program. Lastly, many Indonesian education institutions, schools and universities welcome and happily wish to have partnership and collaboration with Korean institutions. Some businessmen from Korean also visited me looking for possibilities to employ the existing new sophisticated chemistry laboratory for our contribution to produce some related product and also to increase and strengthen our research activities. Now, let me reflect this development after trying to understand this, the development of this project, especially when we have to consider the future of science education. For me, there are at least 3 challenges when we try to understand what problem and challenges in the future of science education. The first one is, of course, about quality. The second one is about pedagogy. And for developing countries, it is always about affordable educational costs. And based on my background, the existing or the coming intelligent information and technology, information and communication technology provide both intense opportunities and threat for these 3 issues. Why? Based on my understanding, the ICT will facilitate learning flexibility, will support less boundary learning institution, will improve efficiency and effectiveness of learning, and will support learning autonomy. Though we have to be aware some threats, and it is not so easy to negotiate, because when we use ICT, or especially when we fully use ICT to support our learning, science learning especially, then we will have to face the problem of authenticity, the problem of certainty and permanently, and formality, as well as physical health. If we don't have any system to support our young generation to have enough physical activity, if everything is always in online mode, then we might endanger my young generation future. Now, what we have been doing in responding the COVID-19 pandemic. First, we face many problems. The problem we had so far after listening our students is the fact that now we are having a very low engagement with our students. Before, our connection, our relationship, our engagement is so essential to our learning system. But now that engagement is very low. Secondly, after experiencing 3 months and now we are preparing for the next semester, we have to be ready that the way we teach our students will be less real experiences. It is a big problem for our science-related education because we cannot easily replace some practicum or laboratory work with just looking at the video or doing some simulation. Thirdly, as a developing country, many of our students are living in a very remote area, and it is very expensive to have internet access. Even some of our students cannot get internet connection, no matter how much money they have. That's one of our problems. And therefore, we are afraid, but we have to ready for the next semester. Most probably, we will have a very low learning outcome because this COVID-19 prohibit us to have warm, close, and intimate relationship as we enjoyed before. However, based on my own reflection, actually, COVID-19 could also accelerate the implementation of open online distance learning. And in Sanata Dharma, this new mode of learning has been discussed for at least in the last 4 years. Before we imagine and even we have included in our strategic plan, but we never have a real experience what is the ODA의. And now COVID-19 is really forcing us, is really situate us to rapidly adopt this new mode of learning. The problem we have, and we are struggling hard, is how to reform all stakeholders, mostly lecturers, staff, infrastructures, and its system to best manage ODA의 while maintaining learning quality without having face-to-face interaction. So within these 3 months in Sanata Dharma, all staff and lecturers are doing many things to prepare because on the next semester, our government does not allow any campus activity. Learning should be done using online mode. And based on my understanding, therefore, international collaboration between developed and developing countries may facilitate effectively to this kind of reformation, especially how to reform our learning culture and our learning habit. That's all I can share to all of you, and I'm sorry if some of my idea could not easily be understood because of some language and also distance barrier. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Priyatma. It's really glad. I'm really glad to have you at the webinar today. And I understand the number of confirmed cases in Indonesia is increasing every day. Could you tell us briefly the situation in Indonesia?
Okay. Now, the number of infected persons is still increasing. Though we have put some measures, but the action and the decision taken by government is not so strong like what China government did. We did not implement the lockdown system. What we have is just not strong, but weak lockdown. People still allowed to go around, and now because of economic reasons, we start opening some activities. So what is happening right now is that now it seems that we are embracing our normal life already, except for the school and some tourist-related activities. So hotel, tourist destination, movie are still closed, but any other activities are ongoing already. So we have to be careful. We have to wear our masks and clean our hand, wash our hand. But the problem is that it is quite difficult to discipline, to force our society to follow the health protocol. For instance, some of our students come to my campus, but when they meet their friend, they forgot already that we are having COVID-19. So they keep touching each other, even holding each other, and they forget that we are struggling to combat COVID-19. That's the situation.
Thank you very much again, Professor Priyatma, to join us today. And I wish the situation is getting better and we can see each other soon again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
마지막 대회에서 발표요. 그다음에 지금 이제 넬슨 만델라 아이스트 교수님 계시에 엔저하고 교수님을 불렀습니다. 이 소개는 우리 안성 교수님께서 잠깐 해주시도록 하겠습니다.
Hello, Professor Nida. Are you there? Oh, your microphone is off.
Yeah. Yes, I'm in. Yes.
Yeah.
Good day. Good afternoon. Yeah.
For your presentation, let me introduce you a little formal way.
Yeah.
So he has a background in chemical engineering and then studied in many different institutes and many different countries. First studied bachelor's degree at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Then moved to a master's program to Norwegian Technology University and PhD in Eindhoven University of Netherlands in chemical engineering. Then he served as a former vice chancellor of Nelson Mandela African Institution of Science and Technology. And while he was the vice chancellor, we had a good relationship because our center, funded by NRF and then Ministry of Science and Technology, ICT of Korea, made this the appropriate technology center at Nelson Mandela. So Nelson Mandela ICT is a counterpart of Seoul National University's center called ITEC. ITEC is representing innovative technology and energy center. So we had very good collaboration, and mainly the idea on the solar power, the smart grid, and some smart factory, especially for recent COVID issue. We made the mask locally using our electricity from the solar power plant and the labor of the local village people. Then we work on the irrigation, agriculture, etc., etc. But he recently started a company called bio conversion. So he is serving as the CEO of the company. And with consultation of Dr. Ree, our managing director of ITEC, So he's going to talk about the collaboration, international collaboration with the center. So this Korea Funding Center in Tanzania, and he got funding from other Swedish ODA agency funding. So it can be a very good, successful case study of the international collaboration through ODA funding. So without further ado, let's welcome Professor Karori Enjao.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Here it is morning. And thank you very much, Professor Ann, for the kind introduction. I will share my screen, and I hope I can manage that. Yes, share. And let me put on what I want to share. So this is my presentation, and I do hope that every one of you can see this clearly from your screens or from your screen. I'm going to talk about this company that was started, which partly also benefited a lot with the presence of the ITEC, the Korean supported the center at my institution. And the topic is growing a company in Africa. And I'm going to, because I was told that the time is actually short, I'm going to focus on the COVID-19 related challenges that I meet as I embark on establishing this company. Now, as a background, we received the CEDA support to implement a project that was titled the Commercialization of Integrated Technologies for Agro and Bio-Waste Conversion in Support of Climate Change Mitigation and Environmental Sustainability in Eastern Africa. And this fund was a result of another fund that was also given by Sweden, where we started by capacity building, training of masters and PhDs, and then we received a fund that I was involved in, where we were doing research that supports industry, and I was our particular area was dealing with wastewater from industries, which is highly loaded with the pollution. And we had a collaboration with Uganda, University of Makerere, and Ethiopia, University of Addis Ababa. Now, because of the success of that phase, CEDA decided to give us a small fund to commercialize the processes, the technologies that we developed through research, and see to it that we eventually form a company that will operate in Eastern African region, that will be covering Ethiopia, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, and Burundi, and probably Sudan later. And so that is the essence of this. And this project is managed through the Bioinnovative Africa program, which is centered at the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology at ISIPE in Kenya, and is one of about 7 such projects supported by CEDA. Now, coincidentally, when we got this fund, it's this small fund, ITEC was also actually had already been established. And therefore, because it involved commercialization, we were looking for somebody who can offer the incubation of the project, because none of us had the experience with the running a company, starting a company. And therefore, we were all professors of university. Like my colleagues there, Joseph Chiambade is from biochemistry in Uganda, Makerere University. Professor Siyum Leta is also a professor. And we did not have somebody that can guide us in the processes of being able to start a company. So the presence of ITEC, the Center for Innovative Technology and Energy Center at the Nelson Mandela African Institute of Science and Technology, and in particular also the presence of HEBRI, helped a lot, because when we understood that there is a possibility of involving Dr. Ree to guide us. All the 3 countries were very happy, and also the program management unit was very happy also that a center which is centered at a university can offer the 3 of us that possibility of training to be able to establish the center. So it has been quite a coincidence where we get funding from Sweden, but a good support from a center that is coming from Korea, which I personally appreciated a lot of this center. I've worked very well with my colleagues from the center, Professor Ann and their team. We have worked very, very well through the center to establish the solar centers in various places. And our students have benefited because they can also train, they can also continue doing research using these centers which have been put in place. Now, the objective was to establish a bio-based technology enterprise, which could actually attract foreign and local investments and to be able to disseminate the technologies. And we had some specific objectives. We read them. They were, because this is at the beginning, we were sounding very academic, because when you're coming from academic, it's very difficult to talk the business of the language of the business people. But eventually we've been able to sail through and focus on what is very important for us to be able to get this enterprise running. Starting and running. And this is the type of budget that we will give for the 3 countries. A total of $250,000 US was actually awarded to us, three countries. And we had a matching support of $90,000, making this a $340,000 US a project. And as I said, Sweden was the main funder, and we received this incubation support from ITEC, especially from Dr. Hebri. Now, we managed to start the company, and our idea at first was to register this company in the 3 countries, Uganda, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. But when we started the processes, we found out that these 3 countries have very different, they have some similar rules about establishing a company. But if you have a company that is having 3 partners, and if the 3 partners are not coming from the same country, and you have almost the same shares, that is treated as a foreign company, because the majority shareholder is not from the native country. And that was actually a big hindrance for us to start to register that company in 3 countries as a one company. And therefore we decided as a first step to register 3 companies in each country and join them somehow, which is actually the modality that we are working out now. And the main office would have been the one that we have registered here in Tanzania. So by August 2019, we had already registered a company by the name of Bioconversion Technology Africa Company Limited, which is short formed as Biocon in Tanzania. And then later in October 2019, a sister company in Uganda, which is known as Uganda Biocon Limited, has been registered. And now we are focusing on being able to register also another company in Ethiopia with a similar Biocon name, but registered in Ethiopia. And at the same time, because I was the PI of this project, I decided to take a leave, 1-year leave. That started on 1st April 2020 this year. Now you can imagine now that in my processes to start a sabbatical started, of course, way back before this. And by the time that I start the sabbatical to be able to move the companies here in Uganda and in Ethiopia, COVID had started, especially because here in Africa, we started having first cases in March, end of March. And therefore, my sabbatical leave, which was supposed to mean a travel, quite extensive traveling within the countries, searching for partners, searching for projects, coincided with the COVID-19, and therefore I got quite some limitations of what actually I could do because of the strict measures that have been instituted in different countries as COVID started to spread in our countries. Now, this is an example of a project that we are now following and which we managed to get. This is actually a flow sheet for a process. I mean, it is a flow sheet for a treatment system for a tannery, a sizable tannery that is established not far from where I'm actually situated, to show that we have been able, even through the difficulty of being able to physically contact potential clients, we have been able to attract some clients, and we are now in the process of formalization and the contracting to be able to implement this big project. And we have other smaller projects that we are also following up, but most of this follow-up have to go by emails because most companies, especially the private companies, currently they are not operating fully, and they don't encourage that they get visitors because, again, because of the COVID-19. Now, what have been the impacts? I can say of the major things that we needed to do during this startup period was to establish, first to get the form of, to start to get it registered, which we have done, to establish a formal office and operationalize the business processes, which is not really affected because we are actually quite well in establishing and operationalizing these business processes. Establishing an office, I'm sitting now in a Biocon office, which we have been able to establish and keep. We also have, we also were meant to seriously seek potential customers and the early stage orders. But this has been really hampered because of the restrictions in movement within the countries, but also outside the countries. And because each country has some level of lockdown or strictness, sometimes borders have been closed, and no flights were possible for quite some time. And therefore, this activity has mainly been done within countries and probably not even being able to visit companies. And therefore, I would say that one of the areas that have been really affected for us would have been the number of customers that would have been able to contact by now and have some dialogue discussions to be able to attract them to use the company for implementing solutions to the environmental problems. However, the establishment, the corporation as limited companies, this is partly affected because movement within countries, within countries and between partners has been restricted, but at least we've been able to register in Tanzania and Uganda. Ethiopia was very serious, especially at some time because people could not move, especially in Addis Ababa. And there, the registration really could not be affected up to this moment. And then also consortium meetings. We were supposed to be meeting and not only meeting, for example, I can say that we should have been able to meet in Ethiopia because there was a tannery in Ethiopia we were discussing with, we had visited them, and then we were to visit them in April to discuss about potential business. And this has been affected completely because this visit has not been able to be effective. So this is how the establishment and the making this young company run has been affected in a way. Now, the steps that has been taken to take the stock of impact, not only of this project, but also the other projects that are supported through the BioInnovate project, the CEDA project, has been the management has been implementing what they call COVID-19 risk monitoring. And this risk monitoring is reported every month. And what we report on are the activities that have been planned for this month and see how the activities has been affected. Sometimes there is also a question whether some of the members of the consortium have been affected by COVID, directly affected by COVID, by somebody getting sick or anything else happening, but more about also what has been hampered by carrying out the activity. And then we have to plan some mitigation measures. And for example, if it is meetings, we have now scheduled all our meetings by Zoom, and therefore we are still being able to meet. But definitely we do that by Zoom. And then we propose new timeline. For example, we were supposed to already inaugurate one of the first office that we established. This was to happen in May. And this would have been very good because it is a good example of a company that starts from research. And I would like also to mention here that in the region, the experience of companies emerging from research that is done by universities is not common like in your countries. And therefore, this would have been a very good thing to encourage more application-oriented research to focus not only on publications and getting documents like PhD documents, but also how can these results be disseminated and be put into creating a business. And therefore, this would have been a very good thing because we would have shown that a research that started just as a simple research done by aid of students and professors could actually form a company, and this company could already have created a business by creating some few interesting businesses with private sector and public sector. So this, we have now projected some new timelines for the things that can actually be done, but all that depends very much on how the situation on COVID progresses. My wishes, this project is supposed to come to an end on the 31st of December this year. And I've been wishing that we have no cost extension to just be able to recover the time lost, assuming that as we continue to understand COVID-19 and we learn how to cope up, to live up with the pandemic, to establish, that means we probably have to establish a new normal and to be able to continue with life and the activities that we anticipate to be doing. So, so that is about the company, the new company that is coming from research and which has benefited by the presence of the Korean support through ITEC and how we are coping up with the COVID issue. But I thought that I should also share some other projects that I am actually part of, which are also foreign funded and have been also seriously affected by COVID. And I'll talk about two projects. One externally funded supported project that I'm actually also the PI, principal investigator, is what we call VLIR project, which is a project that involves universities in Belgium and our university. And we are training people at PhD level who are supposed to be staff of the university. And some are now completing their studies and 6 of them are continuing students. And these students have been registered in Belgium universities, but they are doing their whole research in Tanzania. Now, we have been affected seriously on the following issues. One, supervisors and students have been unable to travel between the countries, and students have not been able to defend their work, and therefore we had to change the way students can defend their PhDs by using online defense carried out between the Belgium universities and the students in Tanzania, with the supervisors that are both coming from Belgium and examiners that are coming from Belgium and from Tanzania. There is still a major delay in executing research activities because even within the country, we have just opened laboratories in our university now, but you know, the university was closed, and there has been a lot of delay. I mean, the major delay for the students to be able to execute their research activities. While we know that when it comes to the end, we are not guaranteed that there will be no cost extension to enable the students to finish their work. So we are not sure whether they will be able to complete in time, and we expect this project to end by 2022. So this is a serious issue that we are discussing between between the partners, we only see that it is, if it would have been possible for the funder to extend, this would have been okay. But we don't have yet a commitment from the Belgian government that there will be an extension of the project beyond the project time to be able to support this student beyond that. So I would say by concluding that, oh, there's another one, sorry. A Fruves project, again, I'm part of that, I'm researching that. The difference between this project is dealing with fruits and vegetables. The project, the difference is that students are registered at their home universities. And all meetings are now conducted through online, through Zoom, and very successfully. And the supervisors in other countries definitely are not able to physically meet the students. There has been also delays in research because of internal restrictions. So if I compare this project and the previous one, this one has been less affected simply because the students have been local and therefore many other things could continue as long as the countries would allow things to continue. Otherwise, in terms of delay in research, that has affected it both equally. And then I would just conclude that COVID-19 has affected countries, communities, and individuals in ways that were unprecedented, and every walk of life has been affected. Socio-economic, cultural, has been affected, and countries are trying to cope with the situation in every possible way. I was happy to hear my colleague who has just finished, presenting how, his country is trying to cope up with this pandemic. There's definitely lack of understanding of the new disease affecting us and how countries and communities are reacting to it. And people are trying to develop new ways of living, understanding that the solutions are not yet, strict solutions are not yet identified. That's what we can say. So with that, I thank you again for allowing me to present in your meeting. And I really thank Professor Ann, my colleague, my friend, for inviting me to be part of this meeting. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for your nice review on the various projects and the pandemic situation, Professor Angel. So let's ask a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I think remote audience can ask too. We see some cases there.
That's a little complicated, so
Oh, yeah, okay. Any question, Flora? Okay.
Hello, Professor. Thank you for your presentation. I'm wondering, under COVID-19 era, is there any kind of chance in requirements or funding situation, funding amount also from Sweden, for example? You mentioned mainly your project is supported by SIDA.
Yes. They are definitely, actually what we are looking for now is to be able to bring the company to be able to invite investors. So we would like that to run like, truly, a business company. And we would wish to, of course, get support for the company to be able to grow. We definitely need to attract, potential investors, and this can be local investors or foreign investors. Now, maybe support, if I understood well, if it's about the company, an area that as a professor, I cannot completely forget, even within the company, is to have some element of research that's directed to solutions on the main activities of the company. And that I will link, of course, the company with the university, because it's very nice if you link like that, because to do the research, you need both universities as well as private run companies. So that is where we may need some research money to continue developing new ways of dealing with especially waste management, which is actually a big problem in this region. Every 10 companies out of 100, they are the only ones that treat their waste to any degree. And therefore we have a majority of the companies not having adequate treatment of the waste, and therefore pollution of the environment is actually quite a big problem. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I think this is the conclusion of the first part of the session. Okay, thank you, Professor Anja, again. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So we are behind the schedule. So I'd like to really appreciate everyone who gave a talk, Thomas and Mr. Rector, and also from the Tanzania and you. Really appreciate your all this effort. And then we'll finish up all this Zoom meeting, and then we'll have hopefully we have to meet you there on site again. So thank you so much, guys. You can just leave the room now.